Okay. Yeah, I appreciate your patience. I appreciate you coming on the platform. Definitely it's an honor.
Absolutely. Thank you, man.
Yeah, you a part of some iconic groups and making some timeless music, man.
Trying to still do it, you know.
Right. I was checking out your website. You like you got some new music. You got some
Oh,
stuff you've
yeah.
been putting out and working on. We want to talk about that as well. For the viewers who may not recognize you, let them know your name and definitely where you're from.
My name's Jerry Bell. Originally from Philadelphia.
Oh, okay. Big shout out to Philly. Philadelphia is definitely one of them special places known for like some of the most creative and innovative and even on the boxing side, some of the
Oh,
strongest.
absolutely. You know,
Yeah.
we Philly is Philly always Philly first. Philly's
Yeah.
first in everything. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, like you say, going back to your generation, even in the '90s, they had the neo soul, and they had the roots, the
Yeah.
hip hop, and like I
Yeah.
say, definitely the boxing.
We the first with everything. That's it. You know,
Yeah.
politics, everything. You know.
Yeah, it's an honor. It's an honor. Now I can ask you this.
Yes, sir.
Um, Now, when did you develop this passion for music? Do you come from like a musical family, or was you the first person in the family to kind of get into it?
No, I come from a musical family. My oldest brother, for those who are listening or watching this podcast and don't know, then they need to do their homework, do some research on the history of black music. But my oldest brother, his name is Archie Bell. He had a group called Archie Bell and the Drells. They had a record called Tighten Up, which was one of the biggest records in the '60s. Um, and then he ended up signing with Philly International Records. Gamblin' Huff and McFadden Whitehead produced some albums on them that were pretty extensive and pretty big. And then speaking of Philadelphia, my my first cousin who passed away recently in the past couple of months, his name is Tom Bell, and the company was called Gamble, Huff and Bell, which was Philly International Records. And Tommy, um, he produced and wrote a lot of the hits and did the arrangements, string arrangements and stuff on a lot of the groups called the Delphonics, the Spinners, the Blue Magic, the Intruders, Harold Melvin, the Blue Notes, um, Major Harris, any of the acts that came out of Philadelphia, they actually went through the part production of Tom Bell.
Wow, okay, that's royalty, man. You named a lot of iconic groups, and it's just amazing that you be able to be, connected to that. Not only being from the town, but that's your blood. And
Yeah,
condolences to you and the family.
absolutely. And then my second cousin is Robert Cool Bell from Cool and the Gang.
Oh wow, that's deep.
Yeah.
You know what they about, so that's cool. Wow, that's
Yeah.
amazing. That's amazing. Now I gotta ask you this.
Hmm.
Um, now, how did you actually get into the music? Like, did you just start
So
writing on your own, or they kind of just pulled you into it?
no, when you're around a house full of music, you have no choice actually but to really integrate, with what's going on. And my mother, she was a singer, gospel, and so that whole thing kicked in. And then living in Philadelphia around a lot of musicians and singing groups. Actually, there's more groups at the time than it was musicians. Um, living across the street from the Delphonics and in the same neighborhoods, and living in the same neighborhoods of a lot of the orchestra players that played on a lot of the things that we did. You had no choice but to be involved. And it was a beautiful thing. It's creating beautiful music and healing people. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Yeah. That's a blessing because you come from a family that encouraged, you to do something that you love. Because you see a lot of times some musicians, they families be against it. Like, oh, I thought you was gonna be a doctor or a plumber or you was gonna be a teacher. And there's like they had this power struggle about, what they really want to do and trying
Mhm.
to, please their family. But it just gotta be amazing to be able to do music with your family and they all in.
Yeah, I mean, I grew up in the era of the civil rights movement, when I was a
Mm-hmm.
kid. So doing music during that time was very important because of all the racial things that was going on. I look at the stuff that's happening today, it was even beyond some of this stuff that they're doing now.
Mm-hmm.
But racially, the lynchings and all those kind of things. I dropped out of school in the seventh grade. So because of the integration that was going on and the teachers that they put into the school systems in the black schools at the time were put there basically to stunt the growth of our education. So I felt as though that, I'm not getting anything. And then I had a run in with the colonizer. And I went home because she told me I would never amount to anything. So I went home and told my mom, I said, hey, I don't want to go to school anymore. And my mother said, I'm not going to force you. What are you going to do? I said, I'm going to grow up and be a great entertainer one day and take care of you. And, history speaks for itself, man.
Indeed, indeed, indeed. Now I gotta ask you this.
Mhm.
Now I got your contact information from, like I told you, the IMDb. It said you was in a movie. Did you ever get into like acting or film? It said you was in Sonny Carson.
Yeah. I've done a couple of movies actually, from Sonny Carson to one of my friends who grew up in the same neighborhood. He came to California and became a very big producer, movie producer, writer, and then his father was a great actor, Kevin Hooks, senior and junior. So Kevin Hooks, he was producing a show back in the '70s called The White Shadow. It was about a black basketball team and a white coach at this high school, and so I ended up being on that show for some years, and then what else? I did some things. Undercover Brother with Eddie Griffin. I choreographed a lot of the stuff with him, and then Double DMX and Cradle to the Grave with Jet Li. So, been around the industry and the film industry for a minute.
Wow. Okay. Okay. Now I gotta ask you about that Sonny Carson because that's a classic.
Mhm.
Um, I got a chance to interview the young guy Crazy.
Yes.
You know what I'm talking about?
Hmm.
Yeah, yeah. Now he was telling me, and I don't know if this was your experience as well, but I guess they was using like real actual gangs and
Yeah.
to make it authentic. What was that experience like for you, especially coming from Philly?
Yeah. I mean, it's the regular. It was like when what was that movie that Denzel did, and they used the real gangs out in California.
Training day.
Training Day. Yeah, it was just like Training Day. It's just no different.
Okay, okay.
Everybody was compliant. People loved it. The brothers, they did who they were.
Yeah, yeah. There's a lot of artists, you may know this already, but a lot of hip hop artists sample different parts of that movie, like Common,
Oh
Wu
yeah,
Tang.
yeah,
It like revitalize it, and then we go back and
yeah,
watch it. And it's like, wow, that was such an amazing time. A
yeah.
lot of great films and music. The '70s, y'all was doing y'all thing back then.
Oh man, that was the prompt years for us. You know what I mean? If this generation and the generation before have no clue on the beauty of the '70s, man. '70s was, yeah. I mean, you can't even script it. You know.
Yeah, yeah. That's why I enjoy these interviews. Like I say, it's definitely an honor. Now, yeah, I was checking out the website and doing a little bit of my research. Now, how did you connect with New Birth and when did you connect with them?
That's a long story. I have to go back. So when my mother's from Florida. My mother is from West Palm Beach. My father's from Philadelphia. So when my mother and father separated, I would spend the winters of Philly and Florida and the summers of Philadelphia back in Philly, right? So I had an opportunity to sing around, with other people and other groups, and there was some magnificent bands and groups that came out of Florida. Um, One of them had actually we used to rival one another in high school or in the school band. Um, there was a friend of my mother's. She was a friend of a woman by the name of Miss Vickers, and Miss Vickers had a son who played in a band. His name was Carl Vickers. He was a trumpet player, and he played with a group called LTD, that Jeffrey Osborne came from, right? And so that band came up out of West Palm Beach, and then there was a gentleman around in the area. His name was Jimmy Bullhorn, and Jimmy Bullhorn was a big artist back then. He was with a record label called Tone Distributors out of Miami. Same as him and Betty Wright came from that label. And so I used to tour around with Jimmy Bullhorn as his opening act. And he had a band called the Miami Ocean Liners, which became my band. And for years we performed together. And then one thing led to another. When I left Florida and went back to Philly, the band became Casey and the Sunshine Band. So being in Philadelphia, working around Philly with McFadden and Whitehead and the Gamble and Huff group, Philly International Records, I got a phone call from a friend of mine in Los Angeles and said, "Hey man, I got a group, and we need a singer in the group because the singer that we're having problems with." So I flew out to California, and boom, became a part of a group called the New Birth. And then we had many records out. The group was pumping lots of hit records even before I came along. And I stayed in the group from 1974 until 1979, and in and out of the group because the group was breaking up, and how groups go through changes, man. Different members coming in and out and that kind of thing. And then I ended up doing a solo album in 1980 on MCA record label. And I did 2 albums on MCA. And then some friends of mine from Earth, Wind and Fire came to me and said, "Look, we have a group that needs a singer." Same thing again. The singer that they had in the group was acting a fool. So they said, "Are you interested?" And I said, "Well, let me hear them first." And they played some stuff for me. I said, "Yeah, I'm down. Let's do this." And it became Out of Your Place, the Dazz Band. And so that's my history of those 2 groups. But prior to that, I have been doing a lot of music. I was writing with a couple of people that were doing stuff. There was a friend of mine who passed away. His name is John Barnes, and he was one of the producers for Michael Jackson. So I used to do a lot of stuff in the studio with him. And then I was also a studio musician, so I did a lot of backup vocals for umpteen groups, from Stevie Wonder to Marvin Gaye. Marvin was one of my best friends. The Jacksons, Michael, just Harold Melvin, the Blue Notes, Teddy Pendergrass, and on and on and on. The list goes on. And I've done so much music. I was thinking the other day myself that I did so much music, I can't even remember half of the stuff. People got to remind me of what I've done in this industry.
Wow, that's inspiring, man. That's inspiring, man. You named so many giants, but it's cool because these are your peers, these people you working with. People dream of just meeting these people maybe one time. Like you said, you have a friendship or a musical relationship, or y'all did an album or whatever. That's amazing.
Yeah. When I moved to California too, I was with the New Birth at the time, but I used to be with the Jacksons quite a bit, and we used to have a softball team. It was the Jackson softball team. So on that team was me. There was a gentleman by the name of T.K. Carter, comedian T.K. Carter, and Glenn Turman, actor, and then periodically Glenn Plummer. And we played against everybody from whoever was on Motown. We played against the Four Tops, We played against the Temptations. We played against tons of people, and even with Marvin. Marvin had he loved basketball, so he had a basketball court in the back of his recording studio. So we used to play basketball on Saturdays, sometimes Sundays back there, before recording and stuff like this. So we played basketball against the Temptations, Michael and the Jacksons, because that was in a private setting. In the open, we played at this park called the Balboa Park in, I think it's in Woodland Hills in California. And so that only the Jacksons, the brothers, would be there, and LaToya every now and then. Janet was a little girl at the time, but we kept the park full of people. They were going crazy. Everybody wanted to see Mike, Joseph wouldn't let him come out during that time, And then it wasn't until we would go to Marvin's place and play ball, and Mike got a chance to hang out and do crazy stuff. He was a prankster too, so he do pull a lot of crazy stuff on everybody. Mm-hmm.
Wow, that's amazing. Now I wanted to ask you a little bit more since you brought him up. Marvin Gaye, man, icon. Transcended music. Now he was before my time, but that's one of my favorite artists. Like, every night before I go to bed, like I try to, I say my prayer and then I do like some meditation, but I do it with music, and it's helped me go to sleep. So I listen to it's either Gil Scott or Marvin Gaye. I put them on, and it's like that helps me sleep, because when you go to sleep, sometimes you be thinking about what happened in high school, or what happened in your childhood, or what happened in college, or are you even worried about the future, what's going to happen tomorrow or next week? So you have all of these thoughts. So I like to put on certain artists and certain music, man. I always throw on, like what's going on, and I'll let the whole album play. But I always fall asleep. It put me to sleep before I even, get through the album, man.
Right. Yeah, Marvin was an interesting being, man. We spent a lot of time together. He had a lot of demons he was fighting, which we all do,
Yeah.
He was impeccably great individual, and he took care of a lot of people. Marvin was the kind of guy that when he would do his music, he would write based on how he felt. For instance, if he felt funky, he would write some funky stuff. If you listen to some of the stuff that he's done, if he was romantic, then of course, all the beautiful romantic songs that on some of the albums were crazy. And then I remember one time when he was going through his divorce, and the judge was like, well, you got to pay this amount of money, you got to pay this, right? And we were sitting, because I used to date Marvin's sister, and we were sitting at the table one day, and Marvin said, "You know what? Fuck it, I got something for them," And he started writing this album called "Hear My Dear." So everything on that album that the wife went to court and lied about, and that she wanted, he put it in the record. So if you listen to "Hear My Dear," that whole album is incredible, man. It's crazy. As a matter of fact, one of the songs on it, we did a song called "Savage in the Sack" together. So.
Oh wow, man! I really appreciate you sharing that. Oh wow, that's deep, man. But that just let you know how powerful music can be, man. Because it's like certain artists, you just be like you get the music, you get all type of music, but some people you could just kind of feel their spirit or their soul, like you say. It just sounds so authentic. Like, man, it's just deep.
The thing about it, when we talk about the music, I mean, there are a lot of artists today, but there are not a lot of musical artists. You know what I mean? There are a lot of artists that can sing a little bit, but they can't sing. They don't have that soul. They have a vocal, but they don't have soul, and it's a difference. For instance, when you listen to Aretha Franklin, you listen to soul. Nancy Wilson, you listening to soul. James Brown, you listening to soul and funk, because we can make it funky. You know what I mean? When you listen to any of the groups, Parliament Funkadelic, New Birth, Earth, Wind and Fire, Brass Construction, Tower Power. I mean, any of those groups, any of those bands, were funky. Um, um, Even the artists that could really sing. You had Teddy Pendergrass, Harold Melvin and the Blue Notes. Where Teddy came from, out of Harold Melvin's group. Jeffrey Osborne, Lenny Williams, and then you had, if we're going to go back, we're talking about Jackie Wilson, you're talking about Joe Tex, you're talking about Johnny Taylor. I don't know if you remember Johnny Taylor, if you're familiar with them or not.
Yeah, my grandmother used to play him.
Yeah, it's cheaper to keep her.
Definitely.
Yeah. So and then you're looking at there was another artist off of Stax Records, Luther Ingram. He made a song called "If Loving You Is Wrong, I Don't Want to Be Right." That you had the Barcades that came out of Memphis, Tennessee, the Temprees, the Emotions. All of these acts, including Richard Pryor, he came from Stax Records too. So when I came to California, I was being managed by Red Fox. So I had an opportunity to even be deeper into the film world, the television world, as well as the music, thing. And one other act I didn't want to forget was Graham Central Station, Larry Graham. When I moved to California, I was living in San Francisco first, and I was rooming with a friend of mine by the name of David Brown, and we were like two peas in a pot, man. David, he was the original bass player for Santana, and he, myself, Carlos, and Larry Graham, we all used to hang out and do a lot of things, man. Only thing I didn't do was the drugs, and I didn't smoke and drink.
Right on, right
But
on,
yeah,
man.
yeah. I mean, I've been around a lot of musical icons. James Brown, just you name it, man. I've had the opportunity to grace the stages with many different people that I've loved, that were iconic singers and performers. But as we go on, in the interview, right? One of the things that whenever I do an interview about music or film, I always talk about, everyone wants to talk about the good stuff, the music, and that gives people incentive to want to. Oh, I want to be in the music business. I want to be in the film business. I want to do this. But they don't know the dark side and the pros and cons of what it takes, or if you don't come from a family that's locked into the music industry. Now you're looking at other aspects of what comes at you. One is the thievery of management. Finding the right manager is the proper situation. And it's a problem because you got a lot of people that manage groups and they're constantly stealing from them, and you got problems where you end up in court and they may have a lawyer or a law firm to represent them that you don't have, and they win by default. These kind of things. A lot of people get paid off. Then you're talking about the ups and downs of this industry that's controlled by the mob. So you got two different factors of mafia. You have Jewish mafia, you have the Italian mafia, and you have the gay mafia. So these are the things that you're dealing with when you come into either one of these industries in this day and time now, more so than ever. So when people ask me, I say, if you don't want the truth, don't ask me, because I'm going to put it to you like it is. I don't sugarcoat anything. I don't stutter, bite my tongue, but I speak what's real. So these are the things that come up here. I have sons, and my younger sons are twins, and they're in the film industry. And we were just having the discussion last night because they were saying, I'm frustrated. I've done everything that I had to do, and I still can't get this. And I said, it don't work like that. There's sometimes it doesn't matter what you create. It may take years before your hit comes. You know what I mean? Because you have too many different gatekeepers at the gate that's not going to let you in. One is you have the gatekeepers that are racist. So we ain't going to let too many more blacks come up in the industry because we got to bring our own people up. You all are taking over everything, which it belongs to us anyway. But this is, their idea.
Exactly.
Two is you have the gatekeepers that are gay mafia. So if you're not bending over, touching your toes, or letting them, do some wicked things to you, then you don't get in the industry. And I think that's a lot of that is playing from the Puffy situations. People in this generation, they see all the stuff that's going on. Well, that's what happens for real in this industry. And then you have others that are very heavy in the industry that are in that arena that control it, and you don't get in unless they had this thing in the film industry called the casting couch. Well, so they have it for men too now. So you just have to be steadfast, believe in you, and move and try to keep moving forward and not giving up. And know that there are demons out there that you're gonna have to fight coming into this foolishness, man. Yeah.
Yeah, I appreciate you sharing that because, a lot of fans, we take for granted what artists have to go through to even get recognized, let alone create that music. You know what I'm saying? Because you hear, especially with black artists, they go through so much from Sam Cooke to Billie Holiday to even now you got rappers like Meek Mill or even Snoop Dogg. You say, I got 1 million streams and they send me a check for $3,000. So how do that work?
Yeah. Well, see, you're looking at a people that have control over those who have given them the control. When you want something so bad, some people will do anything for it. Sell their soul, sell their family, sell out. You know what I mean? So, I mean, whatever happens to an individual in this industry is because that's what they chose. They gave up their dignity for the crumbs that fall from their colonizer's table. You know what I mean? They gave up their dignity for being in a movie, for having a Grammy, for having an Oscar. You give up your dignity for that. You can't look in them. You know what I mean? How can you look at yourself in the mirror and really believe that you are this individual? Some people don't even have talent, but they get those like that too. You're vulnerable. You're looking at vampires in this industry, and they will suck the blood out of you by any means necessary if they can, however they can. You just got to fall into the spider web. So if you don't have anybody to teach you how to maintain yourself going through this industry, going through the pros and cons of whatever this is offering, having a good knowledge on contracts, having a knowledge about being able to make your decisions on what you want to do, and being able to say no when the time comes, because they'll put the money in front of your face. I've been there. They'll set up $100,000 in cash. Yeah, this is all yours, and your mouth be salivating. You know what I mean? And you fall right into that trap for that little bit of inkling that you're going to waste on buying cars, jewelry, women, alcohol, all that kind of stuff is boom, gone just like that. So now you're a victim to them. because now they control you. You just signed over your whole life for 100 grand or for 50,000 or for 1 million. You just signed over your life. And it's either your life or say you got a wife and she gets pregnant. I want your firstborn. This really happens in this industry that's turned filthy. Both music and film.
Yeah, indeed, indeed.
So
Man,
no one
that's
talks.
deep.
No one talks on this subject because
But I
they're afraid.
appreciate it.
Well, they're afraid, man. They're afraid because, oh wow, they're going to blackball me out of the business. How more black of the ball can you get? You know what I mean? So what? That stops your growth. That stunts your growth from being able to do other things in your life to grow. You know, fear is your enemy and trust is your armor, man. So I fear nothing. The walks, crawls, slithers, two-legged, four-legged, one-legged. I don't care. You know. So yeah.
That's empowering. I really appreciate you, sharing that information. Cause like especially when you young, you grow up, you just had this idea that this dream is a certain way, but then a lot of people they go out to Hollywood or they get into the music industry and like you say, they put in a position where they gotta sell themselves or sell their soul. And like you say, that $1 million be gone, but you gotta live with what you done sacrifice for the rest of your life. You know what I'm saying?
Not only that. Check this out now. Never think, and that's for the artists who are listening to. Never think that because you are with a record label or a record company, um, or a film company, that they don't have a complete hold on you. They've already, the minute you sign that paper, they've already taken out an insurance policy on your life. So either way, dead or alive, you know, you belong to somebody. And outside of that, imagine what your family doesn't get because you were foolish and you didn't think about what you were choosing to do. And then others, if you ever hear of an artist ended up, oh, so and so ended up in jail for gambling debt, for gambling for football. A football player going to jail for how are you going to lock me up for gambling over what I do? What kind of foolishness is this, man? But this is the madness in this country. Serves you. You hear artists been in jail. Oh, yeah. Well, same thing with you have to make choices. You have a choice to make in this life. Every man has a choice. Every woman has a choice. So you look at the situation of P. Diddy, Puffy, whatever they want to call him. I don't know why you want to call this stuff that name anyway. But when you look at that situation, you made the choice. And don't think that they don't have, you have cameras, but they got cameras bigger than yours. So they watching every move you make. They got a backlog on everything that you have done. So now you're gonna buck the system? Oh, really? Okay, so then we'll put this out. We'll start letting inklings of things out. This is a conversation I used to have with Michael Jackson. You know what I mean? They don't care by any means necessary. If they need to have control over you, they will control you. Unless you're smart enough to know when to say no. If you're smart enough to walk away, it doesn't matter how much money they want to offer you. You know what I mean? You ain't gonna live long enough to spend it all anyway.
Exactly. Exactly.
So these are the pros and cons that we deal with or that they deal with in this industry. And even though my sons are in their 30s now, they're 30 years old now, I have to protect them still. So now you have to go into another mode. So I got to come out of daddy mode into the gangster. You know what I mean? Because about my children, I will go to prison for. About my children, I will kill and die for. You know what I mean? So
Indeed.
now it's the thing of I have to go to um, the agent and say, look, my sons told you that they don't do gay movies. They're not homosexuals. I'm only going to come as a warning this time. Next time, I'm not coming to talk, but do not give them scripts like this anymore. And if you don't want to represent them, then let them go. If you're not going to represent them with dignity and respect, you know what I mean? So you have to deal with things. Imagine what a man has to do when it comes to his daughters. A lot of these females that are in the music industry, look at what they do, because they're renegades. They have no daddy around to chastise them properly and get them to realize that you don't carry yourself like a whore. You know, you don't disrespect your family name or yourself. But they 24/7, they'll do it because they want the likes. How many people can like me? You look at Instagram and TikTok. How many women on there butt naked now? They don't care. This generation has gone to, I don't know. I can't even begin to explain it. The mindset. A lot of it is from the food you eat, mind control devices that they use on you, the music and how they turn it, the tempos and everything around, according to what you're listening to, lyrically, spells that are cast on you. A lot of people don't realize that what comes from your tongue can also be a spell. You got to look real deep into this because they know, the powers that be, they already know. They know what you think. They know how you think. They know what you like. They know what you like to eat. They know what you like to do. They know your sexual preferences, all of it. So what do? They got all this information. That's why they got AI now. You give up all your secrets on there. Same thing they did with the internet. When they started getting TikTok and Instagram and Facebook, what's the first thing everybody do? They get on talking about they're this, that, and the other. That's why so many people got arrested. This is how so many kidnappings take place. You give up the most for the least. Everybody's putting their information out there. Your address, your phone number. How easy is it for someone to get that stuff off of you? Like, you got my number off of what?
Oh yeah.
TV? Yeah.
Yeah.
Can find you, Now AI can find you for them. Know where you live, everything. Know what car you drive, the whole nine.
That's facts. But before we go, I appreciate you dropping the knowledge, man. I'm still processing it, and I'm sure the viewers would definitely, take note of what you're saying. But you also you still working, you still active. You got a current musical project out or an upcoming tour?
Yeah, I'm doing some things with George Benson. All right. Now, we have a project that we're getting ready to do in Philadelphia in May. It's called The Sons of Philadelphia Return to the Sounds of Philadelphia. So in that lineup, it's a 3-day event. It will be me, George Benson, Stanley Clark, Evelyn Champagne King, the Intruders, the Stylistics, the Delphonics, Jill Scott, MFSB Orchestra. Jesus, man, it's quite a few other artists on that lineup, but it's a 3-day event. Patti LaBelle is also in it. So,
wow. Okay. When is it?
May.
Oh, next year. Oh, okay. Yeah, I look forward to it. I might have to come through.
Yeah. I'll keep you abreast. And then I have another project I'm doing with Norman Connors, The Emotions, in Phoenix, Arizona in February. So some things is happening, man.
Okay. Now, for the viewers, if they want to keep up with what you're doing, your different dates and different projects, what's the best way for them to do that? You got social media, website?
I'm on Instagram, Jerry Bell Official, or they can go to my website, which is jerrybellmusic.com. Yeah.
Okay. Well, yeah, this definitely been a great episode. I know we're about 30, 35 minutes in or so like that. I really appreciate you, stopping to do what you have to do to take time to come out on this show and just talk about, the amazing work that you've been a part of, and sharing some of them stories about some of them legends like Michael Jackson and Marvin Gaye. I really, really appreciate that.
Oh yeah, man. I mean, these are beautiful people, man. Our people are very creative. You know, everybody wants what we got, but they don't want who we are. And that's a sad state of affairs for them because we have much gold and riches within our souls and spirits. To extend to the whole world, man.
Yeah, that's facts. I've been to about 70 countries. I travel all around the world, and our culture and our music, our movies, our fashion, the way we, our style, they want
Everybody,
it, man.
yes,
They love it. But like you say,
yeah, they want us, but they don't. They want what we have, but they don't want to be who we are. They don't want to be. They don't even want to accept the fact. I don't know what your religion is. I'm not religious and very spiritual, but I'm a Muslim, right? But in the Bible that these people read, the Christian Bible, it says, "Honor thy mother and thy father, for the days may be long upon the land which the Lord thy God giveth thee." Right. So these people don't really know who their mother and father is. Who was the first man and woman on the planet? It wasn't Adam and Eve.
right,
I mean, but it was a black man and woman out of creation. Who, whatever,
right,
all the different races that come on this planet, where do they come from? They come out of darkness, out of us. There was nothing before us. There will be nothing after us. So honoring their parents, they don't. So what it says is that death comes to you in many facets for disobedience. You know what I mean? And just look at the world itself. Look at the condition of the people, and look at the condition of this country.
hmm
It's sinking. Like all the others. Look at the ruins of Rome and Greece and all the other ruins of the world from wars and just how they didn't last or live long. You know, because everybody thinks they'll be here forever. Most people get up out of the bed and they look in the mirror and think, "Oh, wow, I look good today." You don't know what's going to happen when you walk out that door. You may not make it out the door. You might drop from a heart attack.
yeah,
So
cheers today.
yeah. So that's food for thought.
Oh yeah, definitely, definitely. I'm gonna have to run this one back. So yeah, I really appreciate you, King. Like I say, you still doing some amazing stuff. So I'm gonna see if I might be able to make that one out there in May. So
Absolutely. Yeah, I'll keep you up.
okay, okay. So yeah, I'll edit this episode and maybe I'll release it in the next day or so, and then I'll send you the link and you can check it out.
Okay, great, man.
All right.
I
Yeah.
appreciate you, brother.
No doubt. Take care and be safe out there.
Yes, sir. Peace and love.
All right. Peace.